I don't know if know if Justin Timberlake and Usher were actually fighting over who could sign him.
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative.
Puff and Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital.
Started getting sexually abused from the time I was 5.
You freeze. You're in shock. I mean, children aren't supposed to handle that sort of stuff.
People don't know how serious it got. Like, it was legit crazy scary.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia.
Fault that Justin Bieber got by Diddy.
It's not our fault that Usher didn't want to get fucked by Diddy anymore.
Which parent would say, you know what? We don't know you. We know that you're a celebrity. Go and hang out with this guy for weeks on end by yourself.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
The story really starts with a phrase that spread online like wildfire. One person describes an atmosphere of fear, and suddenly the internet hears something completely different. When Gone Deal spoke about the energy around certain circles connected to Sean Diddy Combs, those comments were clipped, reposted, and shared millions of times. But here's the part people miss. Words about environment and pressure quickly transformed into something much bigger. Online, those words stopped being about feelings and started being treated like confirmation of hidden events. And once that shift happened, the speculation machine took over.
For me, being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So, yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I don't want to, never going to force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, let her do her thing. And if she ever needs me, I'm going to be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
Now here's where things get messy. When people talk about Diddy's parties today, they talk about them like mythology, wild rooms, hidden doors, exclusive guest lists. But during the late 1990s and early 2000s, elite nightlife in places like New York and Los Angeles was actually a very small circle. Musicians, athletes, actors, executives, promoters, everyone crossed paths constantly. If you were famous, you were probably going to end up in the same room sooner or later. That doesn't mean everyone in the room knew the same things. And it definitely doesn't mean everyone was involved in the same behavior. But internet storytelling prefers a cleaner narrative, one where presence equals participation. And that's where history starts getting rewritten.
Excuse me? Get back in your cage. Justin. Hey, I'm in charge of your grades, kiddo. Justin, it's not even funny. So far, I'm getting straight A's, so I'm doing good. Hey, Justin. What? I'm going to tell you. I'm Derek. You grab your father. No. My mom means the world to me. She definitely keeps me level-headed, but she's got to understand. I'm 15, I joke around. She knows I was joking. Obviously.
Another name that keeps resurfacing in these conversations is Mike Tyson. And at first glance, people think the connection must be deeper than it really is. But the reality is more complicated. Tyson has been unusually honest about his own past. He's openly admitted that during the peak of his fame, he lived recklessly and surrounded himself with enablers. That kind of honesty is rare among celebrities. But ironically, it also makes him easier to attach to every chaotic story from that era. Because when someone admits they live without boundaries, people begin assuming they must have been involved in everything happening around them. The leap feels emotionally satisfying, but that doesn't make it factual.
And a lot of people have been trying to drag Justin Bieber into this situation because there's a lot of suspect looking videos with Diddy and Bieber in it. And, they're making a lot of allegations.
Mm-hmm. Same way they made allegations about Usher. When Usher was younger.
I mean, do you think that there's any credibility to these allegations?
When there's smoke, there's fire. Why would Diddy be tapping his kid in his chest to see if he wired? And asking him, are you wired? Why would he be confronting that kid? Why would Justin Bieber make a song about, what is it? I got smashed at a Diddy party or something like that? Why?
Here's the key point that often gets lost. There has never been verified confirmation tying Mike Tyson to wrongdoing at any of Diddy's parties. No official complaints tied to those specific events. No named accusations. No admissions from Tyson himself about anything like that happening in those environments. What does exist is overlap in time, fame, and social circles. Tyson was one of the most famous athletes on the planet. Diddy was becoming one of the most powerful figures in music. Naturally, their worlds intersected, but overlap is not evidence, and that distinction matters more than ever now.
At a young age, you know, my parents split, as, you know, a lot of parents do, and my dad abandoned us, moved, you know, 10 hours away, and then started getting sexually abused from the time I was 5 up until I was about 10 years old, and there was multiple abusers, and then, you know, had really unhealthy relationships, and ended up getting into drugs and alcohol into teen years, and had an attempted suicide at 17.
It's hard to believe that somebody, I mean, just as beautiful as you've got Justin Bieber as your son, that you would even think about something as awful as suicide. That you've been through so much, though.
Yeah.
But you're really helping a lot of people, I would imagine.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's why I wrote this book, is just to help others get through similar things that I've been through.
For the people who are watching, the moms especially, who are saying, I've been through what you've been through, I identify with that, what advice would you give to them?
I would just say, you know, talk to somebody and don't give up. Like, there's hope. You don't have to stay.
Then there are the stories that people interpret in completely different ways depending on how they hear them. One account describes escorts being brought to a celebrity residence in the 1990s, back when Tyson was still dominating headlines. According to that story, 2 women were taken to a condominium on 57th Street. One reportedly came back downstairs quickly, saying she wasn't comfortable continuing and returned most of the money she had been offered. The other stayed longer. Stories like that get repeated online as if they prove something darker. But when you slow down and examine them carefully, they mostly describe a kind of chaotic celebrity environment that was common in that era. And again, interpretation is not proof.
Was really like, she's a single mom, so she was like really skeptical of the music business. She had no clue. We didn't have a lawyer. We didn't want to sign anything. So
right, of course. So you said no to Maury Povich.
We said no to Maury. No disrespect or anything.
No,
but,
I hear you.
After that, management started contacting us, different managers and stuff. And my mom again was like, you know, sorry, Justin, like we don't have a lawyer, so. We finally got in contact. This guy contacted us named Scooter, who's my manager now, and basically stalked us a little bit, kind of got in contact with us. And finally my mom was calling him back to, you know, say, listen, stop calling me. And he was like, you know, I really see a lot in your son. Like, I can help you guys. And my mom was really skeptical at first. They ended up talking for a couple hours, and he knew some lawyers that we could, you know, talk to and stuff. So we ended up flying to Atlanta free of charge, just for him to, you know, check us out and get to know us. And
this is Scooter.
Yes, yeah. This is Scooter. And we ended up signing a deal with Usher.
But here's where modern documentaries start changing the tone of the conversation. In the past few years, multiple projects revisiting Sean Combs' legacy have surfaced, some of them tied to producers like Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. These documentaries promise never-before-seen footage and behind-the-scenes perspectives from people who were present during the rise of bad boy entertainment. And when viewers hear that there may be over 100 hours of unreleased footage connected to the story, curiosity immediately turns into speculation. People start assuming that somewhere in those hours must be the definitive evidence they've been waiting for. But that assumption is exactly how rumors grow legs.
And he's not none of the names that I said? Probably so. But then they say he was young, too?
Yeah, they say he was young.
Let me get his name right. I hope it ain't the Bieber.
I hope it's not the Bieber.
That's a good one. It might be you. But if they saying that the guy is young and he's an A-lister, I can't think of that many black people, man.
Right. Not at all. And somebody that's more powerful, more of a celebrity than Diddy. You understand what I'm saying? If they were saying somebody that was more celebrity than Diddy, he was an A-lister, he was younger, you know what I'm saying? And if he's not black, it would have to be the Bieber. That's his name, Bieber? They said I got that wrong too. Justin Bieber, allegedly. I don't know, bro.
There's another phrase that keeps appearing whenever people talk about these stories online. Everyone knew. It sounds powerful. It sounds definitive. But almost nobody can explain who exactly everyone was. No names, no dates, no documents. Just a vague sense that something must have been happening behind the scenes. And the problem with that phrase is that repetition eventually replaces verification. Once enough people repeat a claim, it begins to feel like history, even if it started as speculation.
Where are we off to now? Where would you like to go? Wherever you want to go. Where are we going? So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher. He signed to Usher. I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we're going to go full crazy. We're going crazy. Crazy. I'm taking this out tonight. What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours? 48 hours. Let's go. Let's just go get some girls. Let's go get some girls. Man after my heart. That's what I'm talking about, kid.
Fear is another word that gets misunderstood in these conversations. When someone says they felt scared or uncomfortable in elite celebrity environments, people often assume that fear must point to a specific criminal event. But fear can also come from power dynamics. Imagine being young, ambitious, and suddenly standing in a room filled with billionaires, global celebrities, and industry gatekeepers. Careers could be launched or destroyed in a single conversation. In that kind of environment, pressure alone can create silence. And silence, years later, can be misinterpreted as proof that something terrible happened.
Because I can't say that. When I used to see him swing, it was always with him, another dude, and two girls. You know what I'm saying? When he was swinging with other people, you know what I'm saying? He always had other girls in the room or another guy in the room, even with his girl Kim, and he was swinging with her. So that freak off things, but him videotaping and everything like that, no, I can't say that I was privy to that. But you knew what was going on, and just in the instant when people got it confused when I said, when he was in the room with Sarah and her girlfriend, and he had Ja Rule and him in the room. Yo, I didn't know they was doing anything freaky until Ja came out and said, yo, y'all didn't want to be in there because there's a lot of freaky things going on.
The allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. An attorney says he represents 120 accusers who've come forward with sexual misconduct allegations. He expects to file civil lawsuits against the rap mogul. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is tracking the latest. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, George. If these lawsuits actually come to pass, Combs would be facing sexual misconduct allegations on an unprecedented scale.
This becomes especially important when famous names start getting pulled into the narrative. Mike Tyson's presence alone during that era carried enormous weight. He was one of the most intimidating public figures in the world, not just physically, but culturally. To someone entering that environment for the first time, his reputation alone could be enough to create unease. But intimidation and wrongdoing are not the same thing. And confusing those two ideas is exactly how rumors start spiraling out of control.
I seen on the video that Puff had ran into Justin Bieber. They met up. And he started tapping him as if he was searching him and see if he had some kind of device on. Did you see that?
Yep.
Check this out. What if the federal government have already talked to Justin Bieber? And Diddy did that on tape. That means in his mind, he think this person may be a witness. Right?
Yep.
What he had just done that is against the law.
Nothing that we've seen.
Tampering with a federal witness. If they have already talked to Justin Bieber prior to him doing that, he goes and look like he's searching him. It appears that he's asking Justin Bieber, yo, you got a wire or something like that? Like, you're tampering with a federal witness.
Even Tyson himself has spoken about how strange it feels seeing people from his early life rise to massive success years later. He remembers crossing paths with future moguls before their empires existed, back when they were just ambitious young figures moving through Brooklyn nightlife and early hip-hop circles. Looking back, he describes it as almost surreal seeing those same people become global power players. But that shared history is often twisted online into something darker than what it actually represents.
If a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious it is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that. He had already been to the hospital. That situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there. But you got custody of him first. Diddy had already tried. They wouldn't.
And then there's the modern internet's appetite for shocking revelations. The more disturbing the claim sounds, the faster it spreads. Stories involving secret rituals, hidden rooms, or celebrity conspiracies explode across social media, even when there's little or no evidence supporting them. Experts often warn that this kind of rumor culture can actually damage real investigations. Because when extreme claims start circulating without verification, legitimate allegations risk being buried under layers of speculation.
You said earlier, your journey with God has taken many different turns and twists, and God has blessed your life with a precious son named Justin.
Yes.
And I think we're going to pull Justin. Justin didn't know this, but Justin, you were in the studio. Come on over here. He's a good-looking 14-year-old young man. Have a seat right next to your mom.
And he sounds even better than he looks.
He does.
Can we Google this guy?
You can Google Justin. Patty, tell us a bit about what's happening now in Justin's life. This is hot off the presses.
Yeah, actually, Justin is not just healthy like I prayed, but like I said, he's really talented. He's been putting up videos on YouTube, and he is now the #1 most subscribed to musician in Canada on YouTube.
On YouTube.
And number 20th in the world. Musician in Canada.
And we heard him sing.
We met him here. Yeah.
He sang for us in the green room earlier.
What a voice. You would never believe could come out of And out a of voice you. that's caught It's the beautiful. attention of some pretty high up people.
Yeah, he was being courted by the different music labels, and I don't know if you know of Justin Timberlake and Usher were actually fighting over who could sign him. And so we just signed with the music label, and we're moving in about a week to the U.S. So it's a big step, and he's got a long journey.
Which brings us back to the central problem with revisiting decades-old celebrity history. Memory fades. Context disappears. Clips get shortened. Interviews get reinterpreted. And once the internet starts connecting unrelated dots, separating fact from fiction becomes incredibly difficult. What begins as a conversation about accountability can quickly turn into something else entirely. An online narrative that feels convincing but may not reflect what actually happened.
I did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember, Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead enough.
So after everything, the documentaries, the interviews, the resurfaced clips, the rumors connecting Diddy's parties to athletes, actors, and musicians in that era, we're left with a complicated picture. There are confirmed events, like high-profile parties and overlapping social circles. There are personal stories and interpretations from people who were around the industry at the time. And then there are the internet's conclusions, which sometimes go far beyond what the available evidence actually proves.
Met Justin Bieber. This kid comes up to you. He's not Justin Bieber yet. He's just some kid. And he says, I want to sing for you.
It was at the studio of Jermaine Dupri's. I said, why don't you set up a meeting between me and your manager? I'd love to meet with you and do this in a formal setting. I'm late for an appointment with Jermaine Dupri.
Right.
And I don't want to keep him waiting. Let's just do this the right way.
And then you have him come to audition for you, right?
Actually, there were a few people. My wife at the time.
Right.
It also was Perry Reed, L.A. Reid's first wife.
So you were all sitting in a room
We
somewhere.
were in a room.
Yeah.
And I showed her the video. And Perry says, are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing.
When all these dick pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts. Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of managing he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your cock, or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR,
Hey,
man.
by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher, is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's to New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp?
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Uh-huh.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans. Jodeci, Mary J. Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
what
like
a
living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to puffy camp?
Hell